Well, hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're
Good.
all right.
Excited? Nervous? All the above.
Yeah.
Vinny Hong, is that your name today?
Yeah.
Okay. So Tevin is my son. He's in Vegas. I'm in Northeast Ohio.
All right.
We're in Florida.
Yeah,
Where are you
Oviedo.
guys at? Florida?
Florida, yeah.
Oviedo.
Right near Orlando.
Okay.
Nice.
All right. So I will just start off by introducing us to East Coast Mom, West Coast Son. And today is October 11th. And today we have Margeret and Ivan Johannes. Is that how you pronounce that?
Yes.
I'm glad you did that because I wasn't sure.
Hey, no worries.
And they are their business is Ep.5 on Etsy.
Yes.
And we will post all of the
Pictures to see.
so when the promo's done, we'll put that up too, but we'll make sure to post all of the Etsy addresses and the email addresses and all your information too.
Okay, cool.
So
Thank
if you guys would just introduce yourselves, that would be great.
Okay. I'm Margaret.
And I'm Ivan. And
We started a business called Ep.5, and it kind of started off with a different name. We had Project Evolve, and in the beginning it was very much taking green technology and wanting to showcase it to the world on how we can improve our environment and our sustainability. But then it kind of morphed into, okay, well, now we want to grow food. And so we actually had an opportunity to go to South Andros Island in the Bahamas and actually grow food for a large portion of the island. But that whole thing fell through. It's probably a good thing with all the hurricanes, but and then so it morphed from wanting to grow food on a larger sustainable scale to we started on our spiritual path. So it kind of morphed into how can we help humanity? So, you know, what can we do? What are we good at to help humanity with? And we found Reiki, and we started making Oregon devices, and that's how we share through artistic creation our gift to humanity.
Very good. So you guys have had a really interesting journey, meeting each other and immediately falling in love, and
oh yes.
and the story that everybody wants, right?
Gross.
Yeah.
So tell us a little more about that. You weren't, so you guys had the same background, the same ideas,
Yes.
but
Everything.
it seems like you awoke in 2012, but you were already kind of awake. So it kind of explained how that happened.
Well, so she comes back. Our kids they'll come at the very end. They want to say hi. So, but our journey, yes, it started before that. It was more when we met each other. That was the catalyst to go even further into the rabbit hole, because we, like all people, like to have deep discussions, not shallow discussions. That's how we started really hanging out, and then found out we share a lot of the same common things. So I guess you could say, just like what Lisa, like you're gonna have coming soon.
Yeah.
She explained it as divine counterparts, because we both have what we need to be opposite to make our own, but then what we share together to create a whole. So, and that's how it worked out. It was very it took a while. I worked at a restaurant business for 10 years, waiting, finding, and then she came in and took me out of the business right away. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, I never wanted to work in food, ever. So, but my friend came into the animal hospital I was having a hard time with, and she's like, why don't you come work with me? And so off I went, and there you were.
So, yes, it was.
So some doors close so that others can open, right?
Yes.
Indeed.
Definitely, always. Yeah, we're going to have Lisa on, and that's actually how I met you guys, in a meditation class with Lisa Gaulis.
Yes.
That was like 2014 or 15.
Yes.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
time flies.
And that's all of us, I think, the same thing. Like, we were so in our heads analytical I have to do meditation the right way.
Yeah.
Right. So let me take a meditation class.
Yeah.
And then she finally said, the only way to do meditation wrong is to not do it.
Right.
Yes.
Because,
Exactly.
I think that just being human, that's what we do. We have to figure out how it works. We've been taught all our lives to not use our imaginations. Like, that's not good. And it's there, if you are in the clouds, then, come down to earth and do it this way. So, when you were stepped out, Margaret, I asked Ivan, you guys already seemed like you were awake before you met, before you actually awoke. Were you guys raised that way?
Yeah, in a way.
Homes?
Well,
No?
in a way, because my mom we have a Native American background. I probably have such a minute fraction, doesn't even matter, but she continued to teach that to me as a child. So I did medicine wheels and powwows, and we worked with crystals all the time. I slept with a crystal under my pillow every night. And we never really went to church, so I didn't have any stigmas. So I was very open-minded to whatever. We tried churches, but we just never found anything that really worked. But his family is very much into crystals too, and they're actually one of the biggest purchasers of our jewelry. Yeah. They just, they understand it, they get it, and they want to build us up and help us. So.
Right. Okay. And so that takes us, I guess, to how you got to this place. So being awake, you mentioned in your bio, you got rid of your microwave. That was a huge step for us too.
Yes.
Like, my son comes home, Tevin comes home, and he hates that I don't have a microwave.
Oh, yes. I know. It took a while, but the benefits outweigh in all of that.
And we found that we can pretty much reheat anything on the stove or in the oven, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Just takes a little bit extra time. That's all.
Right. A little bit, so you have time to appreciate your food. So while it's cooking.
Right. So you had that awakening, that the real hardcore awakening, and I know that's really hard on people because we find out what's really going on in the world around us. And it can make it get angry, upset. Oh my gosh, I can't believe almost everything I've been taught is not true. It's like a whole new rewiring has to happen.
Yes.
It's really difficult. How do you get from there to, what was your path, getting from there to this being open and really just living the experience of life and loving just the human experience, realizing you're not your body, you're not these feelings? How'd you guys get to that place?
You want to share your input first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, for me, it was starting to listen to my body. And first, I wanted to be happy because I was tired of being angry. And because I remember when I was younger, I was really laid back. And then at some point, something happened and I was just mad all the time. And so I wanted to be happy. So I started looking into things and wanting to find, why am I here? It can't just be to be angry and sit in front of a TV and go to work. That's pointless to me. So started doing a lot of research. We research a lot. We gobble up knowledge, and some things fit at the moment and then we end up throwing it out later, and that's okay with us. It helps you evolve. As long as you continue taking in knowledge, then at least you can grow. I started really researching into the spirituality and finding out that we are much more than what we were led to believe we are. And Reiki definitely helped because that it was. Are you a Bashar fan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. So, it was kind of the permission slip that we needed to start to understand the other part of ourselves. So, we can work with energy. I can actually feel it happening in my body while I'm doing it. So for me, it validated everything that we were researching. And the more we researched and the more we did things, the more it validated what we were researching. So it became personal experience for me. And that it's almost like an addiction. You can't stop once you start. So here we are, and then you get through the shock and awe. You do. And then the new information comes in and you are better able to assimilate it because you've gone through the layers that you have to go through to get to that point where you can actually step back and just observe what's going on versus have to be affected by it.
Right. Yeah, you become that conscious observer and not in the vortex of all the energy. I try to explain that. It's very difficult to explain that to people.
Especially your children. We have 2 kids, and 8, and one's about to turn 5, and they are raw energy. Children, they give the raw energy. You don't get that in adults anymore because we've gone through a system. So to experience them and through all of this chaos, there is a lot of learning, a lot to gain from them, because we have to sit and we have to figure out how to help them. It's just like when we woke up and went through the whole process of like an onion, you're peeling layers. You're like, oh, I didn't know that. Then you're like, oh, I didn't know that. And you just go deeper and deeper. And then, yes, a lot of the information is very overwhelming. But the one thing, like you mentioned earlier, is your imagination. Like your brain is so powerful that your body listens to it, but yet we sit behind our eyes. So it's like the mind runs it, the heart runs it, but you're talking to your body the whole time. So like we try to explain to the kids, like, I know you're mad, feel your feelings, understand it, and then allow it to release. Because if you hold any of that, like, especially if you hold on to all the anger of all the atrocities that are being shown to us on a daily, and if you hold that, then your body's going to hold that, your body becomes that, and then you're going to be yelling at people for having their own opinion, when in all reality we're a collective consciousness here playing with a avatar in a sense, because you're behind your eyes, you're here, you wake up, you're like, all right, let's go about our day in this vessel. And then when you go back to sleep, it's like you go back home, go back to your class. All right, this is what I did today with my vessel. And this is what I learned today. So now how do I assimilate that, turn it around for positive, and wake up the next day happy again, excited about the day, like, hey, I'm here now, let's see what I can do. So that's kind of how our waking process went, especially for knowledge. Like, we love books. So we have the Crystal Bible, because we love crystals. I mean, we have cathedrals, amethysts, we have our crystals, we have our wands. There we go. There, our wands. So, and believe it or not, it helps also with our kids, because our kids, our son, Timmy, 8 years old, he has asthma. So, and we have a nebulizer. We've gone through the whole thing, what are you allergic to? Why is it triggered? What triggers it? And then having all of our, like, our orgone devices around and wearing, he hasn't had as many attacks. Like it's very solemn now, like a blue moon where
he's not going into the hospital like he was.
Yeah.
Because
That's
before
awesome.
we had a lot of the orgone devices in our room, it was almost like every couple of months he needed to have a treatment or he was in the hospital. Once we started filling our room with the orgone and the crystals and the salt lamps and cleansing it with the Reiki and all of that good stuff.
Wait, there's more. I'm sorry. This is where all our information comes from. I'm telling you, you guys. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, hold on. So once we started having those, like occasionally now he'll get a little winded after running or laughing too hard, but nothing like it was before. And I believe it was because of all of this positive energy that we are manifesting in our environment. It definitely helps everybody.
So yeah, that's one of the big things, isn't it? Is that if we can't see it, then it doesn't exist. That's what we're taught.
Yeah,
but the truth is that we only see 20% of the available light spectrum. So 80% of what's going on we don't see, and that's a big, we're the small part, not the big part.
Exactly. Yes. It's
so explain that then. That's the Reiki and Orgone. We're talking about almost moving the same energy. It's this etheric, well, scientists would call it dark matter, zero point, the vacuum flux. You want to explain how Orgone works?
Okay, good. All right, sweet. We actually have a few things. So we'll start off first by We have books. We went over a lot of his information, a lot of people.
Dr. Wilhelm Reich.
Dr. Wilhelm Reich. And a lot of scientists have taken his work and added more to it. So, you want to do that?
Well, there's a guy called Carl Hans Wells. He's the one who coined the term orgonite. So Dr. Wilhelm Reich's idea of orgone accumulators, which would accumulate the orgone energy, whether good or bad. But he was finding that he could concentrate it. However, without anything to transmute any of that negative or deadly orgone energy, it was making people sick. So Carl Hans Wells was the guy who started making resin and metal mix versus the wood and wool and metal that Wilhelm Reich was using. So, and then we started adding crystals to it, and that quartz crystal was very key in transmuting the negative energy that it was accumulating into positive beneficial energy that was mainly neutral.
That's really what quartz crystal's job is, because you can find it in the earth, you can find it everywhere. That's why the earth is the best place to put your negative energy, because it'll transmute it to positive. And that's why, because it's littered with these. Even Mars have them littered on one side. Scientists can't explain why theirs is there, but ours is here because it's here. It's on Earth.
Well,
it's
they've said that Earth is the largest, well, our example of the largest orgone accumulator. So we are actually living on a orgone device, essentially.
And you can see that from pictures from NASA and everybody. That blue, that little layer of blue that goes across, where they are saying, oh, it's your atmosphere. No, it's actually the
orgone energy that you're able to see.
And scientists are seeing, because you can film it, you can tape it, you can document all of this. And scientists are starting to see that it's connecting us to everything else on the planet, because everything else has life force.
Living or non-living.
Yes. I like the analogy. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Dragon Ball Z, like that cartoon.
A little bit. How about you, Tevin? Tevin, I'm sure. You guys are more his age, I think.
Yes. So when it's Goku that takes in, when he makes that massive ball with that energy, how he saves the planets, whoever he's fighting, and he's absorbing the energy from everywhere. And you're in the cartoon, you're seeing it leaving different plants, different animals, because it's an energy that's not yours. It's everyone. Everybody shares in it. Everybody's part of it. So plants and animals, the things you consume, it's giving it off still, and you're ingesting it. So
that's why raw food is really good, because the orgone available in the raw food is much more concentrated versus cooked food. It's diminished.
And microwave kills everything.
Right.
So, and then the character in the show, it shows you him absorbing it all, and the animals and plants are allowing it, because that's what you're supposed to do. That's what they do now. So it's just, I like using the analogy because it shows you that that's how it feels, like you're absorbing your environment, you're absorbing everything in. That's what orgone devices do, is they absorb everything around you. So everything that DOR thank you, has, it's negative. So from your towers that we drive around and see, all right, hold on, baby. And from our computers, our TVs, everything, even the high efficient bulbs that everybody's like, oh, it's green, it saves you. But we've learned that a lot of our technology doesn't. It does the opposite. It gives you all of this, and your body's absorbing it, if not bathing in it. So what it would do is it takes that all in, and it shoots out positive. It shoots out a frequency and energy that's good, that's transmuting everything.
So that's the quartz crystal that's actually inside of the orgone is what's transmuting it from negative to positive.
Yes, and everything else is like layers. It's kind of like gray water system.
The metal attracts that energy into it, and then the pieces of metal, it kind of bounces around off the metal, and it's like a scrubbing action. And then it goes into the quartz crystal, which would then transmute it and emit it out. And then the resin is kind of
holds it all together.
Holds it all together, exactly.
Right.
And it also applies pressure to the quartz, which is also important.
Right.
Yes. So, and that's what we demonstrate or try to on our board that's fallen, is the negative energy absorbs and then it's spit out, and it's constant. This is not a new age thing. You don't have to sit here and meditate or pray on it or do whatever you got to do.
You don't even have to believe in it.
You don't. It does it automatically. That's what it's meant to do. In nature, it's what it does. And a lot of people have done a lot of research. Scientists are starting to come around to it. It's funny because Wilhelm was in the medical books. You got a burn, you put this stuff on you. You know, he had a cloth with the wool and the different layers, and you put it on you. That was medical. That was you. That you didn't do that, you got in trouble as a doctor, because why aren't you following protocol? With the new medicine, the new pharmaceutical world that we live in now, all of that information is burnt, taken out, or sitting in somebody's vault where all the knowledge is. But this has nothing to do with New Age. This has been here forever. This is, you could,
it's in nature, right? So, right, it's not technology. I mean, it's technology, and that the things that were already in nature, we're just using in a way that benefits us. In a.
It's like an amplifier. You're amplifying it. So,
right. Yeah.
Sorry, it's just passionate for that, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, it's New Age hippie stuff." No, it's been here. It was 1700s. Like, it's been around for a long time, and then to get it ripped out of history, then. Nobody believes.
Well, I mean, and that's part of the awakening. That's part of what happens, right? Is we find out that a lot of these types of things that are in nature, it's funny that our naturopaths and stuff are called alternative medicine. Yes. But really, the pharmaceutical industry is the alternative medicine. We have this other medicine's been around for thousands and thousands of years. It's from nature. But I mean, and this is the awakening process. These are the layers, right, that have to come off.
Yes, the onion.
Did you have any questions about Oregon, or anything that I haven't, that you wanted to ask up to this point?
I'm just a student right now. I'm mind blown.
Your mind is being blown?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you use Reiki with this?
Oh, okay, so we should go over what Reiki is.
Exhibit C.
Yes, we have another little bitty thing. We like our boards. So.
We all have chakras.
We are. So we're
another cartoon real quick.
Yes.
Avatar cartoon. That's how I actually taught a class on chakras using that cartoon.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Like,
we love that shit. That's
spirit
awesome
science is amazing. So we're walking, talking batteries. Our brain is very powerful. We take in energy also as emotions, and then we either transmute them or hold them. So what Reiki is everybody could pull, everybody has a tether. We're all connected to the all that is. So that's why we're here, because if we're not here, the tether's cut off, the vessel is no longer in use. So with Reiki, it's a permission slip. You're allowing your vessel to have an upgrade in a sense, because you're opening this little bitty gap that you're tethered with to a big monsoon of a system. Like it opens up. You can physically feel it because it tingles around the top of your head.
A big bowl
that just kind of like sits on you. So when the energy is channeled, it goes through your battery system with all your chakras, and it comes out your hands, and it also grounds you at your feet. That's the most important part, is the grounding, because now you're a battery, so you're grounded, so you don't overfuse or over fizz, I guess you would say. But what's nice about doing Reiki is you're not giving your energy, because we all have our own energy and our own aura. That's ours. And when you give out, when you don't have this tether open, you're giving your energy, so you feel drained and tired. Like, why did I just do this?
Sometimes you can take on other people's illnesses or ailments that way too. So,
that's one of my questions. So yeah, I'm going to come back to that. Make sure we go back to that.
So the Reiki, basically,
there you go.
you become the channel of the life force energy that is around you. So you open up, and sometimes you can feel it, sometimes not. And I think that's where a lot of people start to doubt. Like, once they're attuned to Reiki, there is also association with a lot of doubt when you first start, because you want to make sure you're doing it right and all of that. So usually though, once you start doubting, it's not as strong as it could be. So we always like to say, don't doubt yourself.
Yeah, just
trust that it's working, because it is all-knowing. It's everywhere. It knows what it's doing. All you are is the channel. So you just have to open yourself up, and the other person also has to be given permission. They have to give their permission to receive the energy. If you are not able to ask permission, then you basically just tell the universe, if this is for their highest good, may they receive the energy.
It's free will, and you can't
impose on free will. But so then you just there's several things, the rituals that you do with the symbols and everything like that. But once you start a Reiki session, the energy just flows, and your job is essentially to place your hands where along the body, along the meridian system, along the chakras, or animals too, or plants or food. We always do our food. We're always doing our animals and our kids and each other. And it helps them sleep too. But the Reiki, it definitely helps too with the organ. I know you had asked that question about the organ. I'm sorry, we're kind of getting all over the place. But when we infuse the Reiki, or the Reiki with the organ, essentially it's like a Reiki session on the piece. And then you set your intention. And that intention could be anything. It could be for the room. It could be for, whomever receives the orgonite or the organ device, to provide whatever benefit that they need for their highest good. Is usually, we try to stick with not directing what we impose upon it. It's whatever they need for their highest good, of everyone involved, because then we kind of just step back and we're really the channel. Mm-hmm. And then that device, because of whatever intention, the intention is very important, that you put on it, it can remain receiving or giving out that energy along with the already benefits of the organ device. So it's kind of the same thing, but you have a tangible piece and you have an etheric piece. And so when you combine the two, I think it makes for a very powerful
device. A tool. To help. Right. So like she was saying, it's like Neil, you gotta believe. If you believe, it flows. Once you stop, it doesn't stop. It's just a little bit not as powerful as it should be. And it's your mind. Your mind is very powerful.
Well, I think that's with all this, isn't it? It's even with the meditation class.
Yes.
So I would say that I started this journey in 2011, and over the last 6 years, then almost 7 years, the most important thing that I've learned is to trust myself.
Yes.
To just know that it's all really happening. Again, it goes back to the 20% that I can actually see. So these other bodies could physically be there. I mean, all this stuff is really there. We just can't see it. Mm-hmm. And so we may be the primitive species, actually.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah, we are the food thing.
As Tryon would say, we are like children.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Okay. What else? I want to ask you guys. So you guys are doing a children's book about the chakras?
Yes.
We're in works of that.
Well, we homeschool our kids, and because spirituality has become a large part of our life, we want to incorporate that. And when we started looking around for things that would, geared towards kids to help explain what took us 30 years to learn, we can teach them at a young age, and then they can start applying it throughout their adolescent life, which I think is going to be very important. But we would like to, right now we just use the whiteboard and we kind of explain stuff to them, but we want to incorporate all those ideas and teachings into a book. We're not sure yet whether or not we're going to add like a coloring element to it. It might just be like a workbook, could be both mixed in.
You talk about the one you're working on now.
But yeah, I'm also, that's in the future, but I'm working on an adult coloring book for the chakras. And so I have a couple more chakras to do to illustrate, but and then I'm going to be putting together, it's going to be like a description of what each chakra is, what it does, good affirmations for it, exercises and meditations you can do, plus the meditation coloring page, because artwork is always a form of channeling or meditation. So
like you get lost in doing something, you're meditating. I mean, that's what it is. It's your mind is at ease.
I would have to say we probably do a lot more active meditation than we do closed-eyed, eyes closed, because I tend to fall asleep
Yeah.
Or I'll get really lightheaded and I have to stop because I'm so gone into the meditation that I almost feel sick. I don't know if that kind of sounds appropriate or not, but usually once I stop, I can come back down and ground myself again. And that always makes me feel better, but I'm usually up here anyway, so grounding is very important for me. But
it's
So tell me about homeschooling. How'd you guys get to that place?
both our children are on the spectrum. They're high
well,
functioning.
they're not on they have sensory processing disorder, which children on the spectrum have, but you don't have to be autistic to have it. So for them, there's a lot of, Ethan's definitely on one side of that sensory spectrum than Timmy is. They're kind of on opposite ends. But when it came to school, we did VPK,
With
public
Timmy.
school, with Timmy.
And he tested out. And we did, we tried. He's very intelligent. He's one of those kids that will look at something and he'll remember it 2 weeks later on, and to very to details, like so good. He's got a photographic memory. And
but he doesn't sit still.
Doesn't sit still. He loves to move, and it's just, he's very smart. And to put him in an environment where the class he was in had 30 kids and 2 teachers, it was like daycare. So, and he wasn't getting the input, all the knowledge and things he wanted. So I rather teach him and allow him to learn a different way than go through a system where
he can bounce all over the couch and still do school.
Do you think that some of these kids are being born this way to push the system out? Because
absolutely.
yeah, I mean, I you say that they're on the spectrum, they have this. I think that they don't have anything. I think that they're actually just evolved.
Oh yes.
Like,
well, yeah,
and as human beings are,
when we explain things, yes, we have to explain it in that way. But absolutely, Timmy is very empathic and very intuitive. Ethan, everywhere he goes, he makes people smile, and I know and they're both huggers.
That's their mission. They want to hug everybody they meet, so it's fun to take them around town.
and we can see that their purpose is to bring joy and also to help us grow as people, because they're showing us a lot of things,
the raw emotion,
a lot of areas that reflect back to us basically how we are doing. So they're helping us grow as parents and individual people. So I understand their purpose, and that's why we also feel it's very important that they understand their purpose and have the tools to understand it.
Yes.
Right. And so if they would have been pushed into that system that you have to fit in this box or there's something wrong with you.
Like throwing you out to wolves.
Yeah, right. I know he has a hard time sitting still. It's not ADD. It's not ADHD.
Right.
I'm not medicating my kids, and I don't want somebody telling me I have to, because there's nothing wrong with him.
Right.
He is extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
He just has to move around to learn or fidget or whatever the case is, and that's fine with me. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
And at homeschooling, you can structure it so that he is taking, all of his needs are met, right? So he is staying active. You know what he needs, and he's getting everything he needs.
Absolutely.
Yes,
That's we're in 2nd grade now. So.
Yes, and then because you can move grade levels. So if right now he's a genius with numbers. A kid does not want me to do anything smaller than 100,000 when I do.
And it's all in his head. He doesn't do math on his fingers or anything.
Yeah.
So
he blows my mind. I'm like, where's the calculator at? You gotta no, it's just in his head. So it's fun. It really is, but it's just it's growing. I
think because we have a neighbor right down the street she homeschools her kids too, and her oldest is very much like Timmy. And we were talking about it. She's like, it's basically out of necessity because they just don't do well.
Mm-hmm.
And yet they're perfectly well functioning when they're not in that environment.
Right.
So
I'm experiencing the same thing with my children.
yes.
So I have older boys who are already grown up, but I have 3 small children too. And so now I did the mainstream, what society told me to do, and now this time I'm kind of breaking the mold and doing something completely different.
And you can.
And, I'm experiencing the same issues though. I am sending them to school for the first couple years, and this is just my first year. She's in kindergarten, my one, and it's not going so well. And I'm really starting to question, I thought there were certain needs that might need to be met that I wouldn't be capable of handling.
Yes.
But now I'm seeing things change in her already, and we're not even a whole 9 weeks into school.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and a lot of it is because, the school is set up to move students through, just to move them through. So what, you didn't really get it, but, hey, you got a passing grade, move on, and with homeschool, at least there are time, if you need to take a week on one thing, you take that week, and we don't have 180 days. We have a full school year, a full year, 365 days to teach. So if we only get one thing done because they could only handle 20 minutes of school that day, that's fine,
right.
And then we just move on to the next day and we try again. And it really helps them. They're not stressed out. They're, they play all the time. Their imagination's growing. And we try to make.
Playing is learning, learning is playing. So
Absolutely.
as long as you are learning while you're playing, that's the whole point. That's why kids have to be kids. And going through a school system, most of your days going to school. And then now we have homework after school. And then it's the whole stimulation. Like when we grew up, you don't do anything till your homework's done. Nothing. I don't care. Go do your homework. And then that kind of, it just puts
They're
the
not
kid
kids
down.
anymore.
Yeah, then they're in that room doing their homework.
One of their friends down the street, he's 11, so I believe he's in 4th grade or something like that.
No, he's in middle school.
Oh, middle school, I'm sorry. He Monday through Friday, he's got school, then he has to come home and do homework, and then he leaves to go do a sport 5 days a week, and then on Saturday he's catching up on homework, and then he has to go, to church on Sunday. So when does he get to be a kid? And here my kids are, we spend up to 4 hours a day, maybe, on a good day in school, and that's
Here's
it.
the question. When do you get to go? When do you get to discover who you are, what you like, what you don't like? Get to actually go within, because they want to keep us on the outside, right? Everything they want us to do everything on the outside. They don't want us going in ever, ever, ever.
Ever.
Yeah, because you lose a sense of your environment. We go on hikes. We go see different. We go to the river all the time. We go play with bugs, play with dirt. We do a lot of real things. We don't do a lot of screen things because we're already in a virtual reality. Why am I going to have them sit in front of another one watching that virtuality? It doesn't make sense because you could do that when you're asleep. You're already gone to your world. Right now we're playing in this mushy body. Let's do something with it. So it's just.
So yeah, you're regurgitating material instead of experiencing.
Yes, and that's what
and birthdays and Christmas, we get a few little gifts, but we always try to do experiences because
that's what we're here
that's something
for.
they can take with them.
Exactly. You're not. We move on from this form. We're not going to be taking our toys with us. We're not going to take our cool iPhone with us. It all stays
you get
here.
To take what you learn. So
yeah. So it's just that, and the experiences. Everything leaves with you. So that's what we base our homeschool around. We take care of the criteria. We take care of what they need to know. And then the rest is, what do you want to know? What drives you? What did you wake up wanting to know today? Let's dive into that. And then that just alleviates stress. It's just, now they're
excited.
They're like, oh, all right, let's do this. Let's build a giant bridge with Legos and then drive a car through and see how many cars we can stack on before it just falls apart. Like stuff like that.
Right. No, I think that's great. My daughter the other day woke up and she said she didn't want to go to school. She just wanted to stay home and dance and sing and play all day. And I did that.
So,
stay home and dance and sing and play all day too. I don't know. And she said, why do I have to go to school? And you know what? I don't know. I really don't have an answer for you because I'm here and I could teach you and we could have a great time, Yes. So I'm leaning more and more, as you can see, towards that.
A lot of people are, because they're starting to wake up to the system.
Right.
The big thing in Florida was what was it called? The system that the Florida schools use now that they're trying to get rid of. The Common Core. Oh my God, Common Core. Yeah. Oh, when I got the math portion of that, I was like, how? What? Like, they're teaching my kid what? Like, oh, it's okay. You didn't get the answer. You got really close, though. But no, that's not the answer at all. But yeah, it's okay. Good. You're good. I'm like, no way, dude. Like, what was it? 3 times 4 is 11. I was like, what? Hold on a second. Where's my calculator, too? Like, that doesn't say that either. Like, it just was mind-boggling. So that's when I I was very pushing on
We
like,
teach them the way we learned.
yes, and
Because we, it works and it makes sense.
yeah, like,
But
the new school system was mind-boggling. Like,
What do you think about that? What's your opinion about that? Why do you think it's being implemented in that way?
You're gonna
honest opinion.
you're
Yeah,
gonna
honest. Yeah, this is, I mean,
If you don't want people to rise up against you,
You're
let's
gonna-
make them ignorant.
dumb.
Yeah.
You're destroying generation. It's not just one. You're destroying a whole bunch of generations, not just with the whole other.
Math is the language of the world, and if
It's
you don't really
music.
know that,
It's
then only
everything.
the ones who understand it can wield the power over you.
It's like
Yeah.
English. There's no English without math. You've got 26 letters. You've got all these different combinations. It's math. If you can
Right.
teach a kid who doesn't understand to read, but she knows math, like there's no tomorrow, you can plug in letters and numbers. You can see it on old phones where they used to have the three, like ABC on one, all going down all the way through. You can teach a person to read with numbers, but they're destroying, again, like my wife said, if you have a thought of your own, that's something wrong. You're wrong. You're not in the box anymore. You're floating outside of it. So,
You must be crazy.
Yeah, you must be a conspiracy theorist.
Shun the believer.
Yeah, like it's mind-boggling. But I mean, again, this is the purpose of Earth. It's a duality planet. You must have good and you must have bad. It's the yin and the yang. You can't have without it. If there was too much light, then it wouldn't really get rid of the dark. There's no balance. That's why I don't care who you are, Gandhi, whoever you are, you have both. There is good intentions in you. There's bad intentions. It's your choice which one you want to show to everybody, because
Right.
we're in a reality. You are projecting out here what you feel in here. As again, like Alan Watts said, we sit behind our eyes. We're not our eyes. We can take our eye out, and this eye can see this eye. Like, we're not like, hey, I'm looking at you from over here. We control our reality, and that's a lot of like what you believe. It's a permission slip, excuse me,
Mhm.
to believe what you want to believe. Because from religion to other things, it's then you take that permission slip and you ingrain it in yourself, and then you become it. So it's to allow people to know that you have a choice on what you experience. It's not just a thing that they pull out of the air. No, in common law and law of one and all these laws, you have to tell somebody what you're going to do before you do it.
And they use symbols. Symbols are
a big deal.
Big deal.
And then look at movies, look at television, look at the screen you're watching. They have to tell you. All these things are happening in the news has already been said before it happened. Like, I don't want to get into this crazy stuff, but like geoengineering was told to you before it was done to you, because the karma is cut. The person who's doing it no longer gets that karma. It's the people who did not, didn't see it, didn't read it, didn't bother to look into it. Now it's your karma that you're stuck with. And that's why people...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
The longer that you close your eyes basically to what's going on behind the scenes, the longer and stronger their hold on you is. If you can just try to have an open mind and start slow. Start with something that you kind of are comfortable with. A lot of people start with like genetically modified foods or UFOs, something that's been around for a while and talked about and understood, but then you really get into what's going on, and if that's where you jump in at, you're probably not going to be able to believe it or even process it.
Well, like a sponge. You get too much water in you, you're not going to take up any more water. You're just going to be soggy. So that's kind of how it is. And then the one thing is, along the lines of you make your own reality, we are experiencing our own box, our own bubble. Like our screen right now, I'm in my box over here, and you guys are in yours. But together, these boxes have agreed to share in this reality. So I'm talking to you, and you're talking to me. We agree to do that. And that's how what they talk about your soul contract is. You made agreements before coming down here. You knew that shit could hit the fan, but you made that agreement to come down here, and that's what they call the collective consciousness, because all of us made this agreement, And then we have little parts of us, because we're all one, who decided we're going to meet ourselves from a different perspective. I'm going to be over here and you're going to be over here, but we're going to talk to each other. But in reality, I'm you and you're me. We are the one. We're ones together. Like, we're sharing this reality. So now I'm in your bubble, you're in mine. And that's how it works, because when you go to sleep, you're sleeping by yourself, and you go back to source. You go back to it, the world, that place, that where you could just unload all the information you downloaded throughout the day, all the experiences that came in from every which direction that you pulled in and you took to sleep with you. So, and that's why sleep is very important. I know there's a shift going around with some people are sleeping 12 hours a day, like myself, and
Same.
I can't stop that. There's no way. The alarm system, I can't hear anything. I'm out. And when I wake up, I'm ready to go. And then some people don't sleep. I mean, again, this is the reality we choose to perceive the reality. So it's funny how The Matrix is more of a documentary than it was a movie, because they have to tell you what they're doing before so you don't get that karma. Karma is very, very strong and very important. It's the yin to the yang, because you got to have karma to experience everything. I'm sorry. All right, you're right. Go ahead. Sorry, I'll ramble
No,
on.
you're fine. I've said all these things in the last 5 episodes.
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, I was going to say, if you could explain karma a little further for me,
Okay.
just the idea of it.
A lot of people are experiencing a lot of hard times right now, and going through what they call the dark night of the soul. A lot of what needs to be healed within everyone is coming to the surface. So if that means that you're angry and you're yelling all the time, and you just got to sit down and figure out, well, why am I doing that? What is causing this pain within me for me to project that out in my world? And usually what I find, especially when I watch my kids or if we have an argument or whatever, that anytime that we're feeling lack or less than love, less than what we expect to see, we get mad because we're not getting that back. So we project that anger out into the world to show the world how mad we are that we're not getting the love that we feel that we need. So you have to kind of flip that script, though, because the law of attraction, if you're going to put out anger, you're only going to get that kind of energy back. So you have to be the conscious participant within your reality to say, enough. I am going to be conscious of my behavior, and when I start to feel myself become triggered, I will breathe through it. I will find another way to it's going to be okay. You know, just breathe, allow the energy to pass through, feel it, don't hold on to it, breathe it out, and then, you know, you're not holding on to that, you're not becoming ill because of it, and hey, you did it. You were able to move through your anger and emotions and not project that out into your world. So guess what? You're not going to have that come back to you. So the more that we can start doing that, the more that, you know, even if it's make a goal once a day, can I, you know, become triggered but work through it without projecting my anger out into the world or onto myself through negative self-talk or whatever the case is. The more often we can do that and kind of correct our behavior, it becomes something that just naturally happens. And then you can have a happier life because you're not triggered all the time. But you have to also go within and ask, why am I being triggered? You got to find that root cause. Is it something that happened when I was a child? Is it something that was traumatizing when I was, you know, an adult that happened that made me have this belief system that maybe I'm not good enough to receive the love and that's why I'm not getting it? But usually the case is it's just an old belief that you need to resolve. And once you resolve that belief, you're not affected by it anymore. You're no longer triggered. And
so for those of us who are insecure and deal with fears, because usually that's the root of, you know, the beginning that it turns into some sort of character flaw or whatever. What do you think is the first step when somebody begins to feel that fear and insecurity and they start to feel it burn inside of them where they want to put it out on somebody else? What do you think is the first step to kind of diffuse
let me
that?
ask you, when you just said when it burns inside of you, where do you feel it?
Yeah, I mean,
In your solar plexus, usually, or your gut,
stomach. Yeah.
somewhere in your stomach. It kind of feels like there's a knot. or
Mhm.
your heart drops, or, you know, what you're feeling is your chakras. You have to get, it's almost like you have to train yourself to not react, you have to respond. So when you start feeling something out of balance within your body, within your chakra system, you can then take a step back and do some affirmations. You can, you know, ask for for protection if you're feeling scared, or ask for help. You know, ask your higher self, ask God, Prime Creator, whatever you believe in, for that extra support. And again, it's all permission slips. So usually once you initiate with your intention what you wish to manifest, this is your reality.
So it's your
So
mind. You're
it is
bringing
all
it out.
literally
Yeah.
here. You have to use your imagination. You have to trust yourself. And
So that's just like you're being entertained. You're not entertaining. And imagination is entertaining. You could do anything. But we're watching TV all the time. We're entertained. That's why words are powerful. Like there's so much to the English language that's a double words that, like, again, like the karma. Sorry, real fast. The other half of the karma is, if I tell you what's going to happen in any kind of form of entertainment, then I am cut off from being the receiver of any negative or positive karma that comes out of that. So, like movies are the biggest thing. They will put on a giant screen and display it for weeks. Opening, come in, here it is. Go watch it. You watch it. You watch the story. If you don't watch between the story, then you're missing what they're telling you. Hey, we're going to do this to you, and this is what's going to happen. This is what we can do. And you're taking it into your collective conscious thought and projecting it into your world. That's why 2012 was such a big deal, that the world ends, the world ends, the world ends. Everything was the world ends. There was like 6 movies because they wanted you to believe, because we live in so many different Earths. It's uncountable. But one reality of those Earths, it did end because the collective thought wanted it to end.
So if you are a vibrational match to that reality, that is what you get.
That's what you got.
And you can choose to believe in a different reality. You don't have to consent to.
Consenting is very important. Hurricanes,
and
like,
realizing you have the power not to consent is important.
There's lots of talks on the watering holes about like these storms that were geoengineered. You can clearly see it. You can see it on the radar, the mimic radar, all of them. But it's your intention of what you want to participate in. We went through Irma, and the eye wall, once it got closer to us, it blew apart, and it became just a line that traveled through Orlando. And our intention was, we didn't want to participate in that reality. I don't want to have no power for 2 weeks or swimming in water. You know, I don't want to go through that. So we chose the reality to not. We lost one tiny little piece on the house, and that was it. Nothing. Our whole neighborhood didn't suffer anything. Orlando was fine. We live in Oviedo, so we're like right there. So all of it was fine. We just had tree debris. Nothing. We never lost power.
The flooding waters, though, to get pretty close.
Yeah, we did have soup for days now, but other than that, it was what we wanted, and it was all because your mind. Everything is. But
there was also a lot of people who were actively participating in dissipating it.
Yeah.
And whatever agenda, whether it's natural or man-made, you still have the power of your intention. You can still work with the energies of the storms, use the elemental energies, talk to them. Everything is consciousness. Dr. Emoto, are you familiar with Dr. Emoto?
Rock.
With the water experiments?
Oh, yes.
Where you thank the water, or I hate you, water, and then you look at the crystals under the microscope. Your intention.
Transform them, change them.
And we're made mostly of water.
Yeah.
So even when we talk to other people, like, oh, that lady's such a bitch, you know, your body's responding to that very thing that you said to them. So you have to also be careful on how we talk to ourselves. I found myself having a lot of negative ego talk in my head, like, especially when
you weren't good enough for something.
Right.
When you're like,
what's wrong with you?
Why are you doing
how
this?
come you're not good enough? You're never going to be good enough, you know, and it sounds a little cliche, but I mean, that's literally what happens inside of your ego, inside of your head. But then you just you have to be a conscious participant, you say, stop it. I don't want to talk to myself that way. I am good enough, you know, and you just start the process of reminding yourself that you are this, because
we have to rewire. Just like you said earlier about school and everything you've learned throughout this experience, we have to rewire everything.
They have set the system up so we fail.
Yeah.
And we have to be creative. And if this is a war of your consciousness, of your mind, then using our consciousness is extremely important. And so the importance of expanding your awareness of self, of your reality, of how energy works, on how to use that energy to improve your life, all of that is extremely important right now. And it all goes together. So the awakening process, you know, working with crystals, orgone energy, Reiki, you know, and Reiki for me was like getting your feet wet, you know.
The beginning.
Now I understand a little better how to use the energy, and now I can use my imagination and I can do anything with it, you know. So
it's like the Matrix. Soon I'll be able to fly. I'm still working on that part. But like the end of the movie, he just kind of kneels like, all right, watch this, click, I'm going to fly now. So
I think that has to be part of a collective agreement, though, for that to apply in this
right?
reality. It
Exactly.
does. So yeah, I think that they do, definitely. I completely agree with everything that you guys have said. I've talked to Tevin about this. We've had this conversation about vibration, and we talked about, you know, the higher you get your vibration, World War III could be going on right outside your door and it won't affect you because the realities cannot coincide when you get your vibration high enough. And they do, like, they advertise those hurricanes for weeks. It's coming, everybody's gonna die. People in the middle of the country were panicking.
Yeah, it was wild.
And that was because they want us to create that reality.
The loose.
So
Yes.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. So
they want to feed. That's what they do. We are the food source. You talked about the spectrum we can't see. Wow, there's a whole lot of things in there that we can't see, but we can feel it because we're the battery. We hair. That's your tether. That's your antennas. Like long hair, short hair. It doesn't matter. Your hair is there. It's taking in stuff. You're feeling it. And a lot of what we were taught is it's what you feel. You need to learn how to. If your gut says don't do this, don't do it. If your gut's exciting, you're like full of energy, then do that. Follow your passion. Just like Bashar said, this is your reality. You follow your passion, you're going to find happiness. You know, it's there.
So I do have a quick question, though. Okay, so there's this group of people with the fear participation. So I look at it as I only participate in the things that are important to me. So I'm huge on drug advocacy because I believe that a lot of people, this opioid epidemic we're having, is because we innately feel what we're supposed to be. And I think a lot of us, especially the younger generation, like you guys' age, is using because they're feeling that contrast and they don't know how to address it. So the opioids are really dulling that, so you don't have to feel.
Yes.
And so that's one of the things that I'm passionate about. And so I go and teach these types of metaphysical topics, chakras and stuff like that to the local addiction recovery place.
All right.
I also did a webinar over the last couple of years here with a couple groups that were very political and all the things that were going on in the political world, and being very upset by the things that they were seeing going on in the world around them. And one of the things that kept coming up was that if we just choose to not participate in it, it doesn't make it go away. And there was this anger that was building. And I say that we are all, and I just want to know what your opinion is on this, because I feel like if I participate in something that makes me angry, I'm feeding that anger. And if I see what's going on in the world, that's why I don't watch the news. I don't watch television. I don't participate in these things because I will not evoke those emotions to feed into the system, because it lowers my vibration. And it's like you said, it's like a muscle. You know, the more I use it, the better the easier it is. It becomes second nature for me. But are we, by not participating, here's another, okay, so if we each, I feel what my thing is that we each are like cogs in a machine. And so you say yours is political, or yours is advocacy for children on the spectrum, right? So you want to spread why we should homeschool and how they shouldn't, you know what I mean? And so each of us go after what resonates with us, and then that makes the machine so that we can solve our bigger problems that are going on in the reality. But there's some that don't see it that way. They see us not new age, because I think we're beyond the new age now. I would say this is a spiritual movement. You know, this is an awakening and a consciousness about we're evolving. We all are evolving. It is happening. But I remember in 2011 when I pulled this stuff up on YouTube, there were like 5 channels, and now there's hundreds and thousands of channels.
Yes,
So my question is are we just ignoring it when we don't participate? What is your feeling on this? What do you participate in and what don't you? You know, are you feeding or are you not feeding?
yes.
You know what I'm saying? When is it okay to just step outside and be aware and not, you know what I mean? Or to actually be in it?
I'll go first, and then she has some too. How I feel about it is, I just don't mind. I all to.
You want me to go?
Go ahead.
All
You
right.
go.
So I find myself kind of bouncing back and forth also, because you know what?
Oh, just.
Because you know I'm still integrating my ego. I'm still working through my shadows and things like that. So there are parts of me that still get triggered by things, and I may allow myself to feel that for a moment, but at the same time, once I start feeling it, then I realize, you know, because it stops feeling good, your vibration has noticeably changed, that, oh wait, hold on, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want this to be my reality. I don't want this to affect me. So that's when you have to observe. And if you see something that you don't like, you know, I'm a strong believer in sending it love. You know, thank you for your service to this dimension. Thank you for this service to my reality. But I don't need you. I don't need you anymore. I'm beyond that now. You know, and basically everybody else who still chooses to have that as their reality, then that's for whatever their benefit is at that moment, because it served you at one point. And now if you've gotten to the point where you could recognize it and step back from it, you don't need that anymore, then it's no longer serving you. You don't have to participate in it. And your participation or lack thereof, I don't think that it is going to stop it from happening unless collectively we are all at that point.
I think that's very important. Sharing that and showing how practically going through that process for people. Yeah.
Yes.
We all do. And just when you think, all right, you know, I got over that, that was a really rough month, you know, not anymore. Not anymore. I feel like we're definitely having less and less time to integrate the shadows and what we want to participate in and what we don't want to participate in. But again, if you just, it's almost like a constant reminder. You have to be reminding yourself of how you prefer to be. Don't go on autopilot, you know, and you'll find yourself on autopilot and you're like, wait, why did I just do that? Or why am I saying this or thinking this or feeling this?
Right.
Once you're a conscious participant, you can choose what you're going to put your energy into and what you're not. And are you ready to go now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we all have contracts. We don't know what they are. Obviously, some people do, some people don't. And we're all transmitters, we're transmuters. We can take energy and we can transmute it to another energy consciously, just like a quartz crystal does consciously, just doesn't tell us. But and again, back to this guy, we take in that. So if there's a whole bunch of negativity around us and we find ourselves in it and we have no clue why, maybe it's because you are the one that is taking in the negative energy and you're transmuting it. My wife cries. That Vegas thing, she transmuted energy through tears. I mean, everybody has their own different way of doing it. You can cry, you can meditate, you could play some sport and allow the energy to flow out of you, but that's, again, we're the battery. We make this thing work. So that's what one of our purposes is to transmute energy. That's why we have feelings and emotions. They come and they go, but they're always there because we're transmuting it, especially the collective. There's so many of us and we're all having feelings. We're all feeling this. And then, yes, I find myself sometimes in conversations, I'm like, this wasn't like this when I started talking to you. Why are we arguing? Why are we yelling? And then everybody else starts doing it. And it's just contagious, like da 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 da. and you're not, and you can see that, then maybe your purpose was to transmute whatever
To hold the
negativity.
light in that situation.
Because a lot
It's
of
not
us,
affecting you, but it's affecting them, and you have to allow it to play out.
yeah, my wife, the last two jobs she had were not the greatest, but she definitely transmuted that energy and changed the entire structure of the two places she was at. I mean, sorry, I mean, use you as an example, but it's just, that's how I feel like that's a lot of our purposes are, like what they call light workers or light warriors or people of light or rainbow children and all the names we want forever. But that's what our kids, they're here to transmute different things. We're in a duality, so there's so much energy here. And if we're taking our tiny little solar system and moving it through the photon belt where there's extreme light everywhere, then we have to transmute all this stuff as fast as possible. And that's why maybe we're not getting that chance. That's why it's in our face constantly what's going on, is because we got to transmute it.
Well, we asked for it too. We asked to be shown all this, and then everybody's complaining about it.
Yes.
Well, then we all forget that we asked for it.
Well, I said a long time ago, we'll show you, but you guys got to remember to not respond with fear and anger.
Yes.
That's the issue. So now that's why they're letting us see all of it, because they're feeding off of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
the loosh.
Loosh.
It's
Yeah.
very important to them. That's their life source. We live off of life force, energy. The same thing they talk about in Star Wars. Like, it's real. You can move stuff with it.
We live off of positive life force.
They live off of a negative. The yin and the yang. Everything has a purpose and balance. They have to be here. They've been here since the beginning along with us. So again, it's our consciousness that needs to be up here and evolve. And we are no longer a food source because we're too bright. We're too full of light. It's like a tick consuming too much blood. It's going to burst. And then there's no more tick. So that's
the truth is, it's not that, I would say that it's not that there's more of the negative. You said it's a yin and yang, and it is a balance. They just have the structure to show us more of the negative. So it appears that there's more negative than light. But that's not the case. It's all in perfect balance always.
And it's in...
it's like seeding your consciousness. It's in the hopes of creating enough of an imbalance that it goes onto their side again.
Like
It's
TV.
not going to. There's too many people.
Movies, music, like everything. It's all integrated, all in that stuff. And it's your choice to participate in the reality they're creating. Because
the illusion.
If you choose not to, they can't touch you. They absolutely can't. They can make your environment seem like hectic, but if they can't get to you, then you are sovereign. They don't want sovereign beings. They don't want somebody who could walk around amongst them but not be able to be touched by them. Like, that's not how it works on their planet. That's why we're seeing a rage. That's why we're seeing battles going on, is because they're losing. It's like an animal being cornered. They're going to do whatever they can to lash out. Real or not real, but they create the loosh, and that's all they need. That's how it's been. That's why our pyramids are no longer those tools. The pyramids, those are tools too for consciousness. It's for Mother Gaia Sophia, like that's hers. And then they got into it and they changed it. So now it's absorbing negativity and bringing that down into the conscious collective on the surface population under their grid. So it's us, and that's where. Anyway, go ahead.
No, it's okay. So there's a lot of younger, you guys' ages will be watching this, and they a lot of questions about their pain making them who they are. And my thing is that, okay, you can go through and process your pain, but that's not your story. And I mean, it can be your story, but that's not who you are, and that's not your identity. I had, through my process, had to get the, process the pain, and I would kind of try to hold on to it, right? I'm of this, I'm of that, it became my identity. And even with this process, this awakening process, I did it with, I have Venetian or Palladian, we try to take these identities instead of just understanding that the whole universe is all consciousness, that we are just each individual expression of that. We have experienced all of it, human, Palladian, all of it, right? So my question is what would you tell young people on the issue of where they can release their pain? They want to hold on to their pain and say that my pain makes me who I am, and they want to be the victim. What would you tell somebody who, to end the identity of that? Because I think that keeps you in a box.
Oh, it does.
I'm very thin. I was always picked on as a kid. You're too skinny, da 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 da. You know, you're anorexic, blah blah blah. And then, you know, going through relationships, I'm empathic, so I guess naturally I attract narcissistic men. Guys did. And you know, so so I spent a lot of my young adulthood in a state of suffering. I had really rough, abusive relationships. I was forced through an abortion. And, you know, so there's a lot of traumas that happen. You know, I know my story may not be the worst story, but, you know, we all have our own set of traumas. And if for any second I allowed myself to feel like that's who I was, I don't think that I would have been able to recover as fast. So pain for me, like, okay, so now in hindsight, I can look back at it and like, through those experiences of trauma, you learn how strong you are because you come back. And so the pain no longer is the issue. It's what have I gained from this pain? And that allows you to not be the victim anymore, because now you know something more about yourself that you didn't know before. And so now when you encounter that in, you know, in a future incident, or if you're helping somebody heal their own traumas because you've been through something similar, you now have that wisdom of going through something like that yourself. And you can kind of be the light, the example, like, look, you can come out of it. You don't have to let it define you. You know, it's definitely a process, because it's not something that's going to be happening automatically or right away, because you have to go through certain parts of yourself in order to get to that point. But initiating the process is all it takes, because once you initiate, the will to want to go within, it kind of unfolds for you, however it needs to unfold for you. So whatever experiences get brought your way, if you can look at it from a synchronistic point of view, like, okay, this is meant to happen for me. Whatever happens out of it, I accept it for what it is. And I know I will learn something from it. Whether it temporally appears to be bad in your projection at the moment, usually you'll find that, you know, I'm really glad that happened to me, or I learned a lot from that, you know, and then you can start to apply that to all the things that are bad happening to you.
It's your perspective. Your perspective is very important. It's how you look at things. You want to carry that around, it's free will. You are allowed to. By all means, do what you've got to do. But if you know there's something more to you, let go. Letting go is very important. I don't think a lot of us understand that.
And forgiveness.
Forgiveness. You got to forgive yourself. You are running this vessel. I tell my body, I'm not in my prime like I used to be, but I tell my body that, hey, I love you, dude. I'm growing with you. I'm spiritually growing. You're growing as it should. You got hair coming out places you didn't know hair was going to put. But we're growing together.
Of 30.
Yeah, like we're together though, and also your ego is there. You can't get rid of it. Transmuting it, yeah, that's great, but it's always going to be there. It's one of the programs built into you to also protect you. We've been using our ego the wrong way the entire time. Like, your ego is supposed to allow you to feel like your stomach. Oh, shoot, this doesn't feel good. Your ego is going to step up like, look, dude, this ain't going to work out. Let's go. And that's when you should listen and go. Your identity, it's like, we
all want to be individuals and different,
but
and show the world how different we are from everybody else. But in reality, we bleed the same. We die, we go back to earth the same. Our souls are, you know, they're not the same soul group or what have you, but in essence, it's the same. So when
people are fighting and arguing about random things, I always think of the movie The Avatar, like, look, I'm laying in this little chamber. I'm going to get my mind put over here into this avatar. We're going to run around for a while. And that's kind of how I feel like if we all understand that this perspective is very important, and that's what I'm seeing. Like, we're the same person, but she's seeing it through a different perspective. And if we...
Right now I'm Margaret, and in another reality I'm Charlotte, and in another reality I'm Vinnie Wong.
So
You know, so it's almost like you get to push pause, and if you're creator, now you're going to experience life as somebody else, and you get to hit play. And so as source creator, all of your little tendrils that are coming off of you are feeding your general experience of the all that is. And all of the pieces of you that are us are individual, but it's for a reason. It is for, so we can have our each set of own experiences, because nobody's reality is the same. And how are you going to know all that is without experiencing all that is, whether that's good or bad?
Right.
that's the yin and yang.
You know, even the dark side that we're seeing,
It's still
those who
important,
cannot
too.
be named, whatever you want to call them, the Voldemorts of our world, they also serve a purpose. And the more that we hate them, and the more that we put that negative energy, we are basically doing the very thing that they're doing to us, essentially.
Yes.
So we have to shift our perspective
And send more
and
love.
send more love to them, forgive them, thank them for whatever it is that they have taught us through this whole experience. But they are no longer serving our conscious evolution anymore. We are ready to move beyond them, because we recognize through the depths of the darkness that we have been put through that we can still find the light. We don't need that contrast anymore. We are ready to experience the light.
Right, and that's what I meant by when all this comes out, and we do see all this, not to respond with anger, but to respond with forgiveness, because that darkness is only doing what that darkness knows how to do, just like the light is only doing what the light knows how to do. And it is a matter of perspective. If we look at it from source perspective, it's all just experience. It's neither dark. If source doesn't see it one way or the other. It just all is.
It's a different vibration.
Right. And so we are the ones that perceive it that way.
Yes.
Right?
It's just
So,
like when,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, real fast. Like the universe doesn't know good or bad. So you're asking something bad to happen or something good to happen. It's just going to give you what happened, not let you be the perspective of if it was good or it was bad. So it's just, it doesn't know, like, doesn't know what a joke is. It's just going to give you that energy because you match the frequency that it was already giving out. You fit in line with it. And that's where the whole the concept of multiple earths come into play, because it's multiple reality frequencies that match, and you are now there. So that's why they talk about. And
you can shift between different earths at different seconds of every moment.
That's why they talk about 5D. You know, the new earth, all this, it's not essentially new earth. It's a new frequency that has come online for you to be able to tap into if you choose, because it's free will. If you don't choose, then you don't have to experience it. It's an experience. It's a new, again, our bodies are like what we use in computer language. We update, we download things, and we update our bodies. So, and you choose it because it's your reality. And then that's where a lot of people get stuck on, well, why is the world falling apart? Well, because you're seeing it falling apart.
You are choosing to only see that which is negative. And so that is your reality. Like
the movie Tomorrowland. Did you guys watch it? Anybody?
No, that is one I haven't seen yet. It's on my list.
You read between the lines, the very end, spoiler. The whole basis is this guy used a machine, because infinite reality, so he's in the future. He used a machine that projected a image in your head, just like TV does. It projects light into our being. So, and he projected negativity. He projected the world blowing up, catastrophic, that. And what he was trying to do is make people not want that reality. But instead, we embraced it. We made video games. We made movies. We did all of that in that reality. And so the story was they plucked a girl from that reality. She did not believe in that reality happening when they showed her. And it glitched to being what she believed it being was perfectly the way it was. Green pastures, gorgeous place, everybody's alive. And that's the whole moral, is it's your choice of where you're going to want to be. You can choose doom and gloom. You could choose FEMA camps. You could choose all that because you choose it. But if you don't want to participate, that's where it changes. You have timelines you can jump on. And I guess that's when people feel sad and angry, be like, look, you're on a timeline. You can choose to switch over to another one, and then you'll have another flow going a different way. But if you choose to stay on the same one, that's the frequency you're going to stay on until you choose another. And that's the free will. That's what's nice, because then we could choose what we want to choose. Oh, I want to experience a bad day. Well, stub your toe, you're going to have a hell of a day. You know, or if I want to have a great day, then heck yeah, I'm eating breakfast in bed. This is great. You know, you choose it. So.
And so this can start with things like Organite, right? So we can start putting these things in our environment and changing. So we naturally have the negative EMF. And can you talk a little bit more about what frequencies are around us? I know you mentioned a few, but do you know what other frequencies people can relate to? Because I want to kind of bring it back to this, and then we'll have to wrap up here.
Yeah.
Well, you know, the DOR come from things like cell phone towers, microwaves, computers,
We're talking to you on.
hair dryers. I mean, any electronic,
Wireless.
electrical device or wireless, Wi-Fi,
5G.
3G, 4G, 5G, all of that. They blanket our reality with disharmonious frequencies that just like music being tuned to like 442 megahertz versus or whatever the
at 432, right? Yeah.
right, versus what's harmonious, it creates disharmony and it creates aggression and anger and all of that we are constantly bombarded with.
It's like triggers. What triggers?
So not only are we got the stuff that we're working to clean out, all of our traumas and emotions and pains, then we're getting it all bombarded on the outside too.
That's why it's very hard to do a spiritual path.
And mental health
a lot of people
is
give
such
up.
a big issue because, I mean, in all reality, when you think about it, no wonder we're having such a hard time because we're not getting a break, you know? So the point of us trying to provide the tools was to provide the tools for people to catch that break. Because if we can surround ourselves with things that are cleansing our environment all the time, wearing it, you know, you're carrying it with you.
See, I even got my little guy. I mean, we make them so they're small. You can just hide them under your clothes, and it's not this big medallion. No, it's very small, and it hides, it's concealed, but it does, because we love our cell phones. People are on it all the time, but they don't understand that you're giving off of radiation. You're giving off all these other negative frequencies because there's a lot. And that's all under the DOR. It just fills underneath, you know? So if you wear something that gives you a break, at least allows your body to reset, because our auras are supposed to be out to here. Now they're like, yep, right here. They're so close to us. So that's why a sudden change, you're like goosebumps. Like, what the heck's going on? Who's pulling my hair? Because in reality, you're that's it. And that's your protection. So if you don't have, like, the earth has its protection, you can see it. And if we don't have ours, then we're susceptible for other things allowing to attach themselves to us, become part of us, be in us, use us. I mean, it goes on forever. It's just, I hate using, okay. So like Matrix, they use the bodies, the babies to generate energy, but what everybody's stuck on is like, oh, it takes more energy to make a human stay alive and all that. No, what they're trying to say is that they're using you as food. They're attaching themselves to you, placing you in a reality where they manipulate what you do to create energy that flows back to them, to feed them, to keep them alive.
Right.
So
now, real quick, since you brought that up, I wanted to ask you about the Reiki. When you're working on somebody who has attachments, can that be an issue?
Yeah, no, when you're initially doing it, yes, you can feel it. It's very interesting, and imagination's the fun part, because in my head it's Dragon Ball Z. I'm over here blowing you away with balls of energy. But there's also, through the process, you have to cut your tether at the end. Once your tether is cut, there is no connection to that person I just did energy work on.
Well, what about somebody that's doing energy work on you that is not a clean person? So
if somebody was, well, that depends on how aware you are, I would imagine. Reiki typically doesn't have bad effects. Maybe you're seeing that more so with other types of energy healing. That doesn't include a channeling of energy versus I'm giving you my energy or I'm taking your energy.
Yeah.
You know, because you can consciously do that too. But with Reiki, you're
It's
kind of protected.
Yeah,
from
you're
that.
just pushing energy out of you. You're not absorbing anybody else's back.
But you, like as a practitioner, you can work with the person, like whoever you're doing the session with. If they have attachments, you can work with those. But when you're practicing Reiki, you're constantly doing it for yourself as well. And every time you're giving a session, you're getting a session. So there really isn't an opportunity for a whole lot of blockages within the practitioner to occur. because it's constantly being cleansed and
Flushed.
given that life force.
So it's really the key here is to be careful who your practitioner is.
Of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
always. Yes.
If you're not comfortable with how somebody is working with you,
You're not going to want to go to Susie Kim's to go get
exactly.
your Reiki session.
And that's where it comes into intuition. You've got to learn how to feel your feelings, because that's very important. That's going to guide us. It's not logical. It's feeling, because feeling is your antenna to your frequency. Logical is just logical. We're programmed to be logical too. So that's why we see a lot of things we have in front of us. But it's the feeling, like Steve Jobs. I have a feeling to make it this way, and well, he changed everything. You know, it's like a lot of people, they go on their gut feeling, and then it turns out whatever they created end up really changing the entire world. Right. It's not logical, because working out of a garage is not logical to make computers, but he did what he felt, and then it became what we have today.
Right. Right. That's what I really am pushing is for some of the work that I'm doing is to get people back to that place, because that's going to get us everywhere we need to be.
Yes, your imagination.
Out of the head, right?
Yes.
So, and then I wanted to ask you, the reason why I asked about that was because I took some Reiki to, become a practitioner myself. And halfway, while I was starting into the classes, I found out I was pregnant, and I was going to get my attunement. And something told me, do not get this attunement, because you're accepting somebody else's energy until after you're done being pregnant. And then I did more research on it, and then recently this has come up with Lisa Gawlis about being careful with these attunements and receiving somebody else's energy. And that's why I asked that question.
Well, in our experience, I don't think we encountered any of that. I would imagine then that it's probably possible. We were lucky enough to have a Reiki master teacher who didn't charge us. It was a free, this is going to be beneficial for you. I'm not doing it for me.
Totally like Reiki.
So true, pure intention, right?
Yes.
Right.
And we were done together because she was also a medium and saw us as twin flames. When we met Lisa, she was like, no, it's my team's saying more of a divine counterpart. You guys were meant to go through this together. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why she was inclined to help us, because at that point in our lives, like I told you in the bio, my hands were starting to go nuts and I couldn't figure out what that feeling was. Mm-hmm. And, once I started researching into it, I found Chantel, and, we did the attunements through Skype, which, it doesn't matter. It's distant or not, it could be in person or not, but, it was still very real, and it was still very cleansing. And it was probably the most love and openness I have felt in my entire life. I just had tears of joy just pouring down my face when I got attuned. And so I knew that it was real. I knew it opened up something within me. And I don't think I've gotten any attachments or anything from her.
Mm-hmm. Well, explain exactly what an attunement is.
Well, it is a series of rituals, essentially. I mean, there's certain guidelines that you have to follow when you go through the initiation process, essentially. And the Reiki master, you are open as the receiver. You are open to the energies. The Reiki master is basically doing a set of symbols in a certain way to initiate that process within you. Again, I believe it's a permission slip.
Right. So something you're fully. That's our raw being anyways. It's just
we naturally do it,
Right.
I'm hurt, you put your hand over where you're hurt. You're naturally doing
feeling
it
yourself.
But when you become attuned, I think it's like, okay, I am consciously aware that I have this ability, therefore it is amplified. A lot of people, if they don't know, then how is it going to be something that they can use?
I'm wondering if some of these things that people are experiencing are just because not good intentions, first of all, because I think that is definitely key. But how they're doing, they're not maybe following the certain set of rituals in a certain pattern, the way they're supposed to do it, that's in an ethical way. And they're sending other things. Like, how we like to combine this with this? we like to do, I'm going to take QHHT and then do a different type of hypnosis and make it this special thing I've created. And then it turns into like this monster, right?
Yes, yes it does. Yes.
And I'm wondering if that's what we're talking about here when people are experiencing these negative things, is because it's not pure.
It's all intention, and everything comes down to how your reality is. The Sui and his wife, when he died, his wife went off and did her own different way of doing Reiki.
Charging $10,000 for attunements, like, come on.
But it's all again, it's your body knowing and you feeling. If you don't feel this is right, don't do it. It just comes out. Your body's going to let you know because it's in tune with the etheric. You're innate. Your innate is the person that is the connection between you and source. You go through your innate when you're talking to people. When you're meditating, you're talking to yourself. You're innate. That's you. But it's mostly intention. Intention is the key because, yes, if there's bad intentions, then, yeah, you're going to have a hell of a ride. But if there's good intention, then, yes, I mean, what Reiki finds you, you don't go find Reiki. That's what happened to us. We didn't have no clue about it. She looked up at her hands and found out this Reiki. So she talked to somebody, and that's where we went through the whole process on our journey. But your intention is the key to everything as far as any energy works. It's all about how you think and how you're going to go through it.
Something too that I do recall Chantel telling me about some of her other students, that, you know, she always applauded us for how attentive and focused we were on what we were learning about. But she would say, you know, well, this person went crazy on me, you know, and maybe it's because
they went red.
Whatever shadow that is within them that the Reiki is working on is now coming out to be worked with, but we don't understand what it is that we miss it, you know, and maybe it's being looked at as, oh, they have an attachment, or maybe that's what we're calling it. But maybe it's the Reiki energy doing its job.
And then people attack the energy because, oh, it made me feel this. Well, maybe you had this the whole time, and I was out in front right here for you to see.
To heal.
To transmit.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That was going to be my next question.
Yeah.
Because we talked about healing the trauma and our pain and stuff. Can we use Reiki for that, not just physical?
Yes.
Tell me all the things that we can use Reiki for, you know, in that.
Anything?
But I mean, like, in that respect. So, okay, say that I had some abuse and, you know, I'm clearing that abuse. I'm going to counseling. Could I go get a Reiki session to speed along that? Or how would I use that in that instance? What if I came to see you, what would you do?
Well,
Reiki is more for the vessel. Yeah, it will clear and help the vessel out, and that's what it's.
Also, you can use it for
any
emotions, energies.
Like from the past or go ahead.
Well, let me give you an example. Okay, so if there's an abuse that happens in your childhood, it enters all these other etheric pieces of you, not just the physical. So you have the physical, but you also have, you know, your emotional body, you know, all these other bodies. And so there's residual energy there. That's what I'm asking. Can the Reiki clear all that out, all this extra stuff?
Absolutely. You use your intention, you know, but at the same time, the Reiki is all knowing. It goes where it's needed. So you may think it needs to go here, but maybe there's something else that's needing that attention more. So it's going to go there. So several Reiki sessions will help kind of jumpstart the healing process, because we all carry a lot of heaviness. And the more that we can kind of clean house and spring clean, we will eventually hit all of the things that need to be healed. So I think, you know, frequent enough Reiki sessions, you know, if you are tuned, perfect, you know, do it all the time. But I think that, yeah, absolutely, you can you can address the abuses and the traumas, because, I mean, I'm doing it, you know, I do it for my kids. My Timmy, are you familiar with Blossom Goodchild? She channels White Cloud. Anyhow, she helped me understand through a session that she did with Timmy that Timmy has had a past life where he died because of food, and Lisa also correlated with that, but it was a different set of stories. So it was like a different past life that he had. So he's had several past lives where he has died because of food. And it may be presenting itself as tactile defensiveness right now, but the moment I was pregnant with him, I had issues with food, and it didn't go away until he was born.
Mhm.
So, you know, we can help heal those past traumas with Reiki. It doesn't have to be for this life. It can go into other timelines, other lives. It can be anywhere.
But you can't change what happened. You only can send love to it because it's a trauma. It has energy and it has that energy frequency. You can send energy to it to help transmute it. It will never change. It's in the past. It happened. But you can transmute that feeling. So therefore, when it comes up again and whatever triggers it in you, then it's no longer that trigger. It's going to be transmuted. You can allow it to be and you move on from that. So it's kind of...
Have you ever, you know Teal Swan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the completion process. Have you ever looked at her completion process?
I don't think I have.
It's based off of shamanic work where you know, the soul integration, shamanic work. Soul retrieval is what it's called in shamanic work, and I actually use that in meditation, and I'll have to tell you about it offline. But it's really good, and I'm wondering if that paired with Reiki might actually be something to really look at. But it's basically going into meditation and going to a different timeline, and then having your consciousness visit a timeline where that trauma didn't happen, or you changed the trauma. And
Isn't that like what we did with Lisa, where she was like, find the other you?
Yes.
You know, I don't remember if it was her or not, but it was when we were going into other dimensions in our meditation class, finding the you from another reality that didn't experience
what you experienced.
Exactly what you just said. Yeah. Like, okay, if you're a smoker and you're trying to quit smoking, you can visit a reality where you never even started.
Right.
And you know, get that kind of experience from that person. Excuse me, just.
Yeah, that's Teal Swan. In one of her examples, it was something like that. Somebody smoked. They found out why they smoked. They visited a reality where they changed the trauma, and when they came back, they never smoked again. Never had even the need or the feeling that they needed to. You know, didn't even desire it one bit. So I think that something happens with all the consciousness lining up. So, you know, experiencing all those timelines, which really there is no past and no future. So
no, it's all now. It's right here. Yes. All past, present, futures. Boop, right here with us. It's all in the now.
It's really hard to wrap your mind around, though. I'm always trying to explain these things to Tevin, and we did one on reality, and I showed him the thing. We talked going back to math. I forget what the guy's name is. Gates, I think his name is. Where he said that we actually live in a virtual reality where he found the zeros and ones in our reality to describe our reality, and Tevin wouldn't even post it because it's too out there.
It's all right. I mean,
it's not what happened.
When people are ready, they're ready. That's one thing we learned. We can't force people what we know. I've
been there, and I've been the one that wants to wake everybody up, you know, and sometimes I still find myself doing that, and I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Because to each their own. You know, I'm not here to wake anybody else up. I'm here for me, essentially, and of course I'm going to take care of my kids because they're my kids, but, you know, I can only do so much. It's like leading a horse to water. You can't make them drink. You know,
but what you are doing is planting seeds.
Yes.
Right.
So what might happen is, what might happen is so somebody watches this video and they might not immediately respond to it, but let's say 5 years from now, something happens and they remember this.
Well, it's very funny because when we first started working together, there was a girl who worked there. Her name was Gaia, and she was very spiritual. And at that point in our lives, we weren't quite there yet, so we didn't really understand her. But 2 years later, it's like she was right there in our face, you know, and we could have had this whole relationship with her and be learning. Right. But when you're not ready for it, you don't see it, you know, and then
once you're ready, it comes to you, just like how Reiki came to us. Once we were ready, it showed itself in our reality. And that's with a lot of things that we manifest. When you're ready to have it, it'll be here. It's not going to be here in an hour or tomorrow. It will take time, but it will show up.
Right.
So
It's also opens doors. You know, one door opens and then it leads you to the next. The synchronicities you really have to follow.
Yeah.
In creating our reality, I talk to Tevin about this often, is that we work really hard to create it, but then we say no to the synchronicities. We say no to the options that come to us for us to create that reality.
Because it's not comfortable or it's not what we're used to doing. Because
It definitely will never be what we're used to doing.
Exactly.
That's the
You have
point.
Alan Watts always said, you know, like if you can look at fear and be okay with feeling afraid, but not actually find yourself being afraid, then you're mastering fear. But if you show a resistance to that fear, then you're already allowing fear to master you. You're creating more of that block. So we have to approach life and all the synchronicities that come with it. And as uncomfortable as I was serving food to people, because I've always worked with animals, so I never even thought that that's something I wanted to do. I took that leap into the unknown and found whom I'm supposed to be with my rest of my life. And if I never did that, who knows what would have happened, you know? So
You know,
taking
in
that
some of
leap-
those relationships, I guarantee that you had this in your mind as a creation. That family, that man who treats me a certain way, the kids, because I know I did too, and I totally created that, and it came out of left field. Same thing.
yes,
Absolutely.
it's the reality you choose. It's all
Yeah,
intended.
definitely.
So.
But it takes time.
Oh,
Though
it
this,
does.
in this day and age, it's happening a lot faster.
Yes.
We are creating a lot faster.
I have a friend who's woke, you know, whatever they want to call it, and he always talks about, you know, like all my friends are, you know, having kids or getting married, and here I am still single, and he's like, but I can't be with the girls that are still, you know, I'm on a different level at this point, and it's not that they're in a bad or worse place. It's just I can't relate to them.
All
So
right.
for him, he's having a difficult time finding somebody who he can be open to life's experiences with. You know, and I think a lot of people are actually having that problem, especially going through the awakening process, and I think that's where community really becomes important, because
Yes, a shoulder to lean on.
there
Somebody
are
there.
people going through what you're going through, you know, and
Right.
when you're starting to question reality and what's your purpose and where do we go from here?
What's real, what's not.
I mean, do your research. If you're single and you have plenty of free time, research, learn, you know, work on
Yes.
yourself. And through the law of attraction, eventually you will find that person who's going to support you, who's going to go through it with you.
And not find somebody who's not going to, because we just want a quick fix. We need somebody now. And then you're going to track the ones that are not for you, so you're going to go through the nows, and then eventually you'll find one. It took me 10 solid years to find her. I mean, but I learned a lot, and it's, again, the catalyst, because then we learn together. We go
Right.
through the experiences together. And it's
Right.
fun because then you get two different perspectives. You got mine and I got hers on the same thing. So
Well, it's very interesting that at least that I've found, that like having an argument
different.
now versus having an argument 10 years ago,
Yeah.
where I'm the victim, everything's happening to me, you know, why is this guy such an asshole, that, you know, but then you start to realize, oh, that is something within me that needs to be healed. So you're no longer mad at the other person. You can really only look within yourself and figure out what it is that's causing you to behave that way.
Right. And then you
So
can actually have a relationship without fights. There's no fights. There's only communication.
There you
Exactly.
go. Exactly. Yes.
So, you know,
Sometimes a little loud, but communication is more important.
well, you know, and I find that it's really true that when you really don't feel heard, you're going to raise your voice. So,
we learned that from the kids. We don't hear them. They're loud. I'm like, wow, I heard you 2 times ago, but all right.
but yeah, I mean, so it really is a lot of perspective. So when you can apply what you're learning spiritually into your regular everyday life, you can actually wake up every morning and not feel like you're in hell on earth. You know, we can manifest what we want to see, and it really starts with how you perceive the world, and work on yourself and surround yourself with the energies that will support that decision that you're making. Organite, crystals, salt lamps, meditation, clean water, you know, all of these things, getting out in nature. You know, if you like being in water, take a hot bath, you know, just take some time for yourself, do what makes you feel good, follow your excitement,
like my mom said, choose your friends wisely because you're also getting energy from them. Your interactions, your conversations, just being next to them, you're twining energy.
We don't really have a whole lot of friends anymore.
They think we're crazy.
At least the ones that we grew up with. You
Yeah.
know, we have new friends.
We have new communities.
Yeah. But I am noticing that a lot of my friends are starting to wake up. So they're starting to come back to me and be like, hey, you were right. Not that I want to toot my own horn, you know, but like they're starting to see what they didn't see years ago. And that's exciting to me. I love that.
That's my greatest achievement too, is to see other people wake up and actually get it. And when that happens, something in me just explodes. It's awesome. Great feeling.
That person's being born again in a sense. You're consciously waking up. You're expanding instead of contracting. So, I mean, it's very important. It's exciting. It's an exciting time coming up. And if we just keep our heads and not go losing them down the street, everything's going to be great. It's going to
lead
be
by example.
Yeah.
Kevin, would you say lead by example?
There you go.
Be the change. It's very cliche. Be the change you want to see. I have to tell my kids that all the time. You know, like if you want your brother to stop picking on you, you got to stop picking on him. But it's hard to make that transition because we're always on auto drive. You know, we just react.
This came up the other day with Tevin. We talked about racism, and he said, well, what would you say about how would we end racism? And at first I said I didn't know, and I said, wait, I do know. Go within. Because if you can clear out all your hatred and all your trauma and all your pain, you can't help but love the other person.
Yeah.
The hate dissipates.
Well, and you know, I believe too, having the understanding that our vessels, our physical outer appearance is just a way to interact in the physical world.
With this place, because in all reality,
like the movie The Avatar.
Yeah, we're a ball of light. That's all we are. Then we decided we're going to play in this realm that we like it because I get to pick up stuff. I get to touch people, you know? And that's why when you're in these vessels.
We enjoy physicality.
That's why we go through this experience over and over and over and over again. That's why you got so many lifetimes, because you're learning. Your Akashi record is just getting massive. And that's what life is about. It's experiences. I mean, you experience yourself in different forms, different ways, different perceptions, but you're gaining something. You're never, ever losing anything. Even when you're down, when you're losing all your stuff, you're down on your luck, you're still learning. Because then you learn how to rise again. And that's the whole game. How far away in the dark can you run? And how fast can you run back to the light? And that's all it is. It's your choice. It's free will.
Right. Well, I thank you guys so much for making the tools and helping with humanity to find their way back to the light and to help us awaken and to be comfortable in raising that vibration and taking some of the burden off of us. You know, sometimes we feel so guilty. We're meditating, we're doing everything we need to do, and sometimes we can't get out of that space, that low vibration. And no wonder, like you said, we're being bombarded. So thank you guys so much for your contribution.
Thank you.
Helping us get out of that space.
Yes, it's service to others. And that's like what you're doing. It's service to others, what's going to change everything, not service to self. That time is over. That's back there. Now the new age is coming. It's service to others. So we're happy to at least participate in that realm.
Unity and community.
Exactly. So
is there anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up?
Don't lose your imagination. It's very important. They take it out of you when you watch TV, when you're entertained. Be the entertaining. Entertain yourself. Do it Be in real stuff.
Do real things. Try not to be on your phone all the time. You know,
your imagination.
Put it down and build something, create something, draw something, make something nice for somebody. You know, all these little service to other things that we can be doing. Well, you know, just like in times of disaster, when people come together and they help people, that should be all the time.
Yeah,
that should not just be because we've had a disaster.
It should be every day.
And I think that if we can start doing more of that, then we can. It's going to happen, but it can happen faster.
The breakthrough's going to have to. Yeah, like imagination made this. We made organized from our imagination. We took an mold, made an idea, formed it. It's there, and that's what I tell my kids every day. Play with your toys. Use imagination. Don't ever let that thing go. Because
take your brain out and play with it for a while.
Once you let go, then you're doing what they want you to do. You conform to whatever their reality is instead of creating your own.
Right.
So,
Tevin, do you have anything else that you want to ask?
That's No, that's it.
Sorry, just regurgitating
No,
all this.
I completely agree with the imagination and just doing things, just
Yeah.
doing them. And I feel like that's something that a lot of people have a tough time with is creating intention for their lives and where they want it to go, but also finding the balance of being free and not trying to be in control of everything at the same time.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's important.
Our ego wants to be in control, and because it's always there to protect us, but we have to remind it that it's not always
We're not in danger.
needing to be protected from, we can actually
take a step back, breathe,
take care of somebody else and know how that feels, and you can find a higher purpose. I frequently find us in situations where we are like,
we give out more stuff than we take in. Our income for this is compared to what we give out. It's just like, what the hey.
We do a lot of gifting.
We love gifting. We just like the expressions.
We just want to get it out there to people.
Yeah, because the energy. You're exchanging energy. Here's a gift. Be on your way. Much love.
And a lot of
it feels better when it comes back to you.
A lot of people are very responsive to that. Like, we have handed several out to those without homes, and they literally look at you and they somebody thought of me and thought that I could use this to help whatever, however it's going to help them. And they really cherish that, especially when they don't really have anything else. So I couldn't give you money or I couldn't give you food, but I have this organite in my pocket. Please take it. Hopefully it'll change the tides for you, or at least provide some sort of benefit to you that you didn't have before,
So where can people find you guys and everything? We'll have all this linked, but
yes.
I am pivo.etsy.com.
Yes.
And there's more than what's just available on there. If you see something that you like somewhere else, please, or something that you saw on our page that's no longer available, let us know. We make custom pieces.
Everything's unique. Nothing is ever the
molds,
same.
So
I mean, Facebook, but again, everything is unique. It's all handmade. Nothing's ever the same.
One at a time. We don't factory make anything. Yeah. It's all handmade, hand drilled, hand sanded.
And intention. It's always infused. It has to be. It's just, I feel that's what makes us unique, is because we infuse our pieces to benefit as much as just the person wearing it. It could be the person wearing it, the person you're talking to. That person's going to feel it too, because you're right next to the person who has it. You could put it next to your computer. You could put it on. We have ours on our TVs, on our computers, like next to the phones where they charge at night. So
everything's energy. So just think of that amount. So anybody watching this, think of the amount of positive, beautiful, loving energy that's in that piece that they're offering.
So, and it's been proven to work. It's scientifically proven, and then the science that hasn't been discovered yet, it's all there. It's quantum
just waiting
energy
to be discovered.
Yes.
We're quantumly entangled, and that is really how consciousness works too. So I think science will catch up, but until then, use the tools that we have at our disposal, and really, at least individually for ourselves, maybe take it upon ourselves to put things in more of our favor instead of just letting life happen to you. We can start being active participants.
And not be the victim, because we're not victims.
That doesn't
we
serve
choose
you.
our reality, so
Right.
you can't be a victim if you're choosing it. So it kind of doesn't work that way.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay, well, very good. It was great to talk to you guys, and
It was. Thank you.
it's nice to have this kind of conversation with you guys. Eventually, finally, we're all right on the same page, and very enlightening. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
All
guys.
right.
Thank you,
Have a good
Teddy.
evening.
Nice meeting you.
Yes, thank you.
I'll see you guys.
All right.
Bye.
See you guys later.